and welcome back to my knitting podcast. My name is Sophie, but I'm better known as the Knit Purl Girl over on Instagram, here on YouTube and on Ravelry. And the sun is coming out for my introduction, which is wonderful. If you're new to my content, I'm a full-time knitwear designer living and working in the south of England. And I'm here today to talk about my knitting, as you might have been able to guess. I've got quite a few bits to talk about today. Less, I think, than last month. I've been in a bit of a weird... I've been procrastinating a lot this month. I've got quite a lot of laptop work that I've been desperately putting off doing for no good reason, really. I just haven't felt like it. And I'm ahead of the game for quite a few of my deadlines, so it's kind of fine. But yeah, bit of a weird month work-wise, but that's okay. We can take that. But I've made quite a few things. Not all of them have been a raging success, but I'll get onto that shortly. And I've got some yarny bits to talk about today as well. I've bought quite a lot of yarn in the last 6 weeks, arguably too much. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But I've got some kind of first impressions, I guess, to talk about, and some kind of thinking ahead for projects as we get get into the summer here, but I'm thinking of next winter, so that's fun. But yeah, I will wrap up this intro and let's get into it. So the first thing I will talk about is the Hannah Slipover, which is what I'm wearing, albeit in a modified form. So I think I first spoke about this pattern a couple of months ago. And it's actually available for purchase now. All the information will be down below. There'll be a 25% sale on all patterns. Information, yeah, down below. This was my first sample. So it's a nice little stripy slip over with a contiguous shoulder construction, which looks like that. Which I really like because I think it gives a very neat fit on the shoulders. As you can see, I've modified this sample to have a button band, mainly because I was bored and I wanted to, I just wanted to shake things up a bit. And I really need, as I continue to say, more things with button bands, because quite a lot of my tops have detail here, and it's quite nice to be able to layer, and I wanted something that I could wear over a dress quite easily as we get into the warmer weather. So yeah, I modified the pattern to make this one. The modification is part of the pattern, but it wasn't part of the test knit, so what I've done is make a supplementary document that's part of the same download, which has all of the details on how to do this. It's very straightforward. If you're a confident knitter, you could probably work it out by yourself, to be honest. But you just need to work the different components of the yoke, I guess, in a different order. It's very simple. So if you're working in the round, you shape the shoulders and then you continue shaping the left neckline. Once that's done, you break yarn, rinse and repeat for the right neckline. And then you cast on stitches to connect them, work the length of the front panel with the underarm shaping, and then you just do the exact same, obviously without the underarm neckline shaping for the back panel. So yeah, very simple. And then for the button band, you're just doing all of the left shoulder, kind of left front up until the underarm shaping, after the underarm shaping, and then you do the same for the right, same for the back, so all the panels are kind of at your armpit, for want of a nicer way of putting it, and then you obviously connect them, break your yarn, rejoin it so that you're at the start of the row, and you're working back and forth in rows, and then you pick up the button band. Very simple. Like I say, if you're a confident kind of pattern hacker, you probably don't need the instructions on the mod, but I guess it's helpful to kind of double check the stitch counts for the neckline cast on and that kind of thing. But I really like it. I'm really pleased with this. I, as you can see, went for mix and match buttons after a bit of encouragement on Instagram. I posted a photo on my stories, kind of being like, I'll never be able to choose which buttons to use, one day I'll be able to, but not today. And quite a few people messaged being like, oh, it looks quite cool. This shirt has a bleach stain. Oh well. Yeah, quite a few people messaged saying it looks quite cool, mix and match. So I was like, yeah, it does. And I'd been having that thought whilst I was procrastinating, doing something else anyway. I think it was like a shower thought. I think I was like, that could work. But I feel like it's quite quirky a little bit twee maybe, but that's okay. Yeah, very kind of art teacher vibes, which I aspire to. That's a good look. And I also did a little baby split hem, which again is in the pattern. And then I made a third sample to show it without stripes. You won't be able to see any of the details here because this colour is so dark. And that is what that looks like. I think this is going to be very useful. That's what the shoulder construction looks like. I hope you can kind of see that. And I just did this one without the double folded collar because I just couldn't be bothered to do that fold, which is so lazy. But you know what it's like when you've done loads of rib, because I've knitted a lot of rib lately, and it's a bit like I'm over this, I just want to cast off. So I did. But I think that this will be really useful in the summer because I quite often just wear a wool slipover without anything underneath. And I find that that is really comfortable for the kind of humid weather that we get where I live. So yeah, for this one I used Knitting for Olive No Waste Wool in the shade Deep Navy. This was gifted. They sent me a cone before the yarn launched, and I've held it double here. So I can show you. I've got it all caked up because there was so much, and I don't really like knitting from a cone. I don't find it very enjoyable because I like to pull out quite a lot of yarn. I just find it easier. So yeah, that's that. I'm really pleased with how this looks. I think it is really smart. I meant to make this the size up. So I'm right on the cusp at the moment between my size C and size D, so the 3rd and 4th size. I think my chest circumference is about 90 centimetres at the moment. Obviously with like fluctuations over the month, but about 90 centimetres. So what's that in inches? Like 35.5 inch bust circumference at the moment. So yeah, I'm right on the boundary. So I wanted to be able to show it with the kind of minimum amount of ease, which is how this looks, and then the maximum amount of ease. Off the top of my head, I can look it up. I've got my laptop right in front of me. I'm just being lazy. With so 7 centimetres ease and then 12 centimetres ease, or 2.75 to 4.75 inches respectively. But I accidentally just made another size C garment, so that was silly. I only realised when I put the armhole trim on and I was counting the underarm increases that I'd done, and I was like, that's not right for the size I wanted to make. But oh well. I don't even have an excuse. I think I was rewatching The Hunger Games because I've just read the new book, which I loved. So fun. A little bit fanficky, but I didn't mind that. Anyway, so good. Yeah, I think I was just like so caught up in the drama that I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, yeah, that'll do. I quite often find that by the time, I don't always make a 3rd sample, but when I do, I tend to be a bit over it, and I need to, that's kind of why I wanted to do this one with the button band mod, because it keeps it interesting for me. But yeah, anyway, so for all of these, it's worked on a 4mm needle, 20 stitches, 30 rows. That's like a very comfortable gauge for me. I really like the fabric that I get at this weight. And oh, I need to tell you what yarn I used for this sample. So I used a yarn that is unfortunately no longer available, which is tricky, but I have alternatives ready to go. So this is from Arbon Textiles, and I picked this up at the Mill Open Weekend 2 years ago. Oh, I'm speaking there on a panel with Anna from Along Avec Anna, Laura of Laura Penrose Knits, no longer Penrose Knits, Laura Penrose, and Faye Dashber Hughes. So I'm really excited for that. But anyway, yeah, Mill Open Weekend this year, 7th, 8th of June, I think. It's going to be fun. When I went a couple of years ago, it was a really good time, and I love any excuse to go to Devon. So yeah, I picked this up, then I bought 3 hanks, and I think I needed pretty much exactly 2 for this. I have made it slightly more cropped than the pattern specs because, again, I was bored. There's a theme here this month, I think. But yeah, this yarn is lovely. So it is a limited edition Pure Elements DK, and it is this lovely kind of warm grey, I would kind of say. It's a blend of 40% alpaca, 40% Exmoor Blueface, 20% Jacob fine brown British wool. Yeah, and it is the shade Frosted Dunes, for what it's worth, if you did have any in stash. It's 250 metres per 100 grams, so like 270-ish yards, I think. Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino is a match in meterage, as is Isia Jensen. Not the best substitutes because this is quite hairy. I think where it's got some really like lovely quality British wool it's got quite a lot of texture in it. It's beautiful, and I held it with Ready to Play Knit Purl Girl Bingo, the Camels Yarn Suri Alpaca Silk in the shade Pebble Beach. I can't remember how many times I've shouted this yarn out, but it's really beautiful. I bought it out on Ravel again a couple of years ago, probably the same year, and I used half of what I bought to make a second Amiata sweater sample, which I spoke about a couple of episodes ago, and I've used pretty much the rest of it on this Slipover, so I've only got a tiny bit left, but I don't know, I'll probably find a use for it. Or not, it's fine. I can always use it for swatching because it is so lovely. I really like this yarn. And yeah, together, really nice pair. I wanted to kind of, because I used Gepard Pura Lana for the first sample, not this colour, but I've got another ball to make some mittens. I wanted something that was still quite alpaca-y because I wanted that similar kind of heavy drape that you get from alpaca wool. So I thought these would be nice, and they were lovely. I really rate this combo. I think John Arbon quite often do limited edition yarns, and I really recommend picking them up if you can. Not the cheapest, but really lovely, and a great company to support. So yeah, that's that. So I think those are all I've really got to say about the Hannahs. So on to the next thing. Okay, next, sticking with the kind of slipover-y theme and also buttons, my next finished object is this little tank top, little crop top. I think it's going to be my July release. So this is what it looks like. It has buttons up the back, which are very cute, and it's finished with I-cords. So it's very simple. It uses a kind of construction on the shoulder that's more similar to like a drop shoulder sweater. So you're kind of shaping the back on the right and wrong side row, so you get like a nice slanted shoulders, and then picking up along that edge. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this. I think the yarn is absolutely gorgeous. You can see from kind of how I am fluffing it up almost, I don't know, presenting it, that it's very drapey, really beautiful. It is another Gepard yarn. It is Hør Silke. I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's linen and silk blend. It's 30% Tussar silk, 70% linen, French linen, I believe. I've got yarn here for a second sample. Yeah, it's 175 meters per 50 grams. Again, sorry, I can't think what the yards are. It's like 1.1 times that basically. But it's a really interesting yarn. I've got quite a lot to say about it. This is the shade Mineral Blue, I believe. I can't remember the shade names, but all of that information will be down below. Really unusual yarn. So if I show you, so the construction itself is very interesting because it's not quite a chainette yarn. It's really odd. I kind of want to show you. So can you, if I hold up a few strands, I'm hoping you can see. Yeah, I think there by my ring finger. It's a really unusual, sorry, I've got a really bad hand tremor. I've had too much coffee this morning, but I think you can see the construction there, and it's almost being knitted itself. It's really lovely, and the fabric it yields is clearly gorgeous. It's so cooling. You can really feel the kind of benefit of the linen and the silk. It's going to be so nice again when it's hot here. I'm really looking forward to wearing it. But it is not the... It's really lovely to knit with. It's a nice knitting experience. However, frogging with it, awful. I was talking to Rebecca from Craybear recently because she bought some kind of on my recommendation, and I was like, just a heads up, it's a bitch to frog. It is really, like, don't use it for a first sample if you think you're gonna have to rip back, because you won't be able to and keep the yarn intact. Even when I've like been weaving in ends, it's been quite challenging. So if you can kind of see, yeah, it's almost like undoing a crochet chain. That's how I would describe it. So when I was sewing on the buttons for the back, I had real trouble because I put one in the wrong place and I had to pull the thread out. Not like for something like this where it's kind of like a robust woolen fabric, wouldn't be a problem. It was a nightmare. It took so long, and I feel kind of bad showing the inside of this edge because you can kind of see I haven't done a very neat job. but that's okay. Nobody's going to see the inside when it's on. I haven't taken proper finished object photos of this yet. I might do it today because it's quite sunny, but not too sunny, so I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, it's really lovely. I haven't got a name for it yet. I'm planning for the second sample to do I-cord bow ties in lieu of buttons, because I think that'd be really cute. And what I did for this one is a garter stitch edge, so I put stitch markers 3 stitches in on either side, and yeah, slipped the first stitch and then did garter on the other 2 stitches because I thought it'd be quite cute. And I don't know, I think because the colour reminds me so much of a swimming pool, it kind of made me think of like the ripples that you get when you're in the water. Some kind of justifiable design choice here, but I'm going to keep those 3 stitches and just slip them all so you've got a thicker I-cord, I think. I think that'd be quite pretty, and then I don't have to change the stitch counts for the options. I think that will work nicely. But yeah, this is really cute, and I'm looking forward to doing a second sample. This used pretty much exactly 3 balls, but I had started using this yarn for a different project last year, and I ended up not liking how it worked up, and like I say, because I couldn't really frog it, I don't know exactly how much yarn I reclaimed from that project. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I'm very pleased with this. I just need to come up with a name and get the second sample done, and it can go into testing, so it should be quite simple to write up and grade. So that'll be fun. You'll notice a theme here about how I haven't, again, like lack of laptop work. I've done the design thinking, but I haven't done the actual thinking behind each design. So, oh yeah, this next month is going to be a lot of laptop work, so I might not have very much to show in my April podcast, but that's okay. It's all good. Next, I showed this a little bit in the last podcast, and I finished the 4-ply t-shirt that I'm working on. If I sit back, you can see it properly. So that's what she looks like. Mixed results. So the positive points: the yarn is gorgeous. It is this yarn from Cami. The shade names again will be down below. This is the shade Stardust. This is a shade name that I can't pronounce for the life of me, but it's like Kaliak, something like that. But I'm so sorry to any Gaelic speakers because I've butchered that. But it's a really beautiful kind of copper colour. I love coppers for spring summer. Can I bring that down? So I'm trying to bring the exposure down, but I don't think I can. But it's a blend of baby alpaca, linen and silk, sticking with my current fibre preferences. And it is absolutely beautiful. 400 metres per 100 grams. And then that is Stardust. Try not to blow out the colour. And it's an off-white with hints of pink and green, and then flecks of lavender, I'd probably say, gold, and again a kind of coppery brown shade. Really, really beautiful. I love this colour so much. I picked these up at Unravel and I pretty much immediately cast it on because I was so enamoured with the shades. So I did, I think I was a little bit too hasty to cast this on. I got really excited about it, and I was very conscious of wanting to be able to have a really long test knit for this design because 4-ply garments are just more work, right? So this is scheduled to come out in August, and I will also do a long sleeve version if you wanted a light layer going into the autumn. I spent a day a couple of weeks ago kind of self-critiquing on Instagram about what had gone wrong here because there was quite a lot. So at first glance, it looks fine, right? The neckline is maybe a little bit too wide looking, but it's not too bad. And that is essentially the root of the problem. I don't know why. It wasn't really a grading error. It was more of a grading misjudgment. And I'd got in my head that I didn't want the neckline to be too much of a close crew neck because I really like a close crew neck. I kind of think if I want a crew neck, I want it, to sit like this. But I wanted a more relaxed kind of feel, which is great. But then I was like, okay, so it needs to be like 20 centimetres across here, which it doesn't. It really doesn't. So I just got a bit, I don't know, carried away. And then the sleeves are also too wide at the cast on edge. And it just makes the whole thing sit really awkwardly. I used Japanese short rows to shape the neckline and the stripes. And again, I think that's fine in theory, but it involves cutting and breaking the yarn quite a lot. in a similar way to how you're doing the short rows in my Farnham designs. You have to, when you're doing short rows of stripes, you have to skip ahead a little bit. You have to break yarn, slip stitches and rejoin to kind of start the next stripe, or they're wonky, right? Kind of hard to explain, but if you've ever tried doing short rows and stripes, you'll hopefully know what I'm getting at. The short rows themselves are quite well executed in this, so if you see there, like, they look okay. However, they lock you in to this 6-row stripe placement, which I didn't want because I want people to have a bit more flexibility where possible. Because it's like with the Farnham, you have to do 8 rows, 2 rows, 8 rows, 2 rows in the stripes, or it doesn't work. Like, you could, if you're a confident knitter, you could adapt that to your preference, but yeah, you're kind of locked into that pattern repeat, which might be fine. I think for the Farnhams it works really nicely, but for this I wanted a bit more flexibility. And also, if you aren't doing it with stripes, it's kind of pointless. You would need a completely different short row method. So yeah, that was my thinking about changing that, because spoiler, I have changed things. And just the overall fit is wrong. I think where the neckline is so wide, and specifically where the sleeves are so wide at the cast on, it just makes the whole yoke hang really awkwardly. The sleeves don't sit right. It's all just, it's too wide here, basically, even though the circumference of the bust is fine and the overall amount of ease is fine. I tend to prefer slightly less ease with raglans, but I still wanted it to be relaxed. It's a summer tee, it's meant to be a bit loose in my head. So yeah, what I did is, after a small like, oh, why am I like this? I knew there were fit issues. Why didn't I just frog? I cast on a second sample using a different construction method. So this is pretty much the same yarn, although the blue is from a different dyer. This is from the Camels Yarn and is the shade Something Blue. On her, she calls it the rustic fingering base. Let me grab a fresh hank. So yeah, this is what it looks like in the hank. And this was actually a wedding present from some of my friends. So Simona, Laura, Lizzie, Caroline, if you're watching, thank you, I love it. So beautiful. It's proper kind of sea blue. It's so gorgeous. And blend is 50% alpaca, baby alpaca, 25% linen, 25% silk. And yeah, it's the rustic fingering. Gorgeous. It's interesting, and I'm using Stardust from Cami as the contrast colour again. So it's quite interesting seeing how kind of colour theory in action, putting that off-white next to a warm tone versus next to a cool tone. I think it makes it look so different. Like, I don't have the best view on my viewfinder, but it looks much more like yellow gold here and much more white here to me. Changes that I made. So I went back to the drawing board after kind of talking through my grading angst, and I was talking to Florence from Handmade by Florence, and she was like, have you thought about just doing a different construction? And I was like, yes, that's very sensible. So I've used the same construction method as I used for the Lose sweater, where you are initially working the yoke of the raglan flat and then joining in the round when you cast on neckline stitches in lieu of short rows. Yeah, I really like this method. I think it has worked really nicely. I still had some bugs to work out, I would say, and essentially they came down to, I should have done the stripes in the different order. So it should start with the white, end with the, and then the blue, but that's really minor, so whatever. So this is what the second sample is currently looking like. It is not the easiest thing to show. I finished the yoke, the collar, and I've done both sleeves. I made the sleeves ever so slightly longer, and I've also done a different finish. So this one is finished with I-cords and a little bit of garter stitch, which I think looks really nice. I will have instructions in the pattern on rib, and I'll come back to that in a second. But so yeah, this uses a different construction, but pretty much the same stitch counts. I think I took a little bit of ease out. I think I've maybe made it an inch, 2.5 centimetres smaller. But it's the same 2-stitch raglan, compound yoke, really nice. So I did have a bit of drama with the collar for this sample. How to explain it? I initially wanted to do another ribbed collar, but I just did a single collar, not a double folded collar as I've done here, because I don't actually have an issue with this for summer knits. I know some people do, but I like it. I think it looks neat. But the thought of doing another double folded collar on 2mm US 0 needles made me wasn't keen on the idea, let's just put it that way. So I initially just did a single folded collar, and then I did, I think, 10 rows in rib, and then 10 rounds in rib, and then a round in knit stitches, a round in purl stitches, and then cast off. And that was fine, it looked really nice. However, these stripes were so distorted, it was really upsetting. So if I show on my hand slipover, if you knit stripes regularly, you'll kind of already be aware of this phenomenon, but do you see how the stripe gets distorted by the collar pickup? For something like this, it doesn't really bother me too much. It's not ideal, but it's fine, and it's kind of inevitable. But for this t-shirt, it was really bad, and I'd also picked up slightly wonky by accident, and it was just, it was awful. It really made me cringe. And I was a bit like, oh fine, I'll just rip it out and do it again. And then I was like, oh, would it maybe be nice with an I-cord, because you're obviously still a lot of knitting in an I-cord at this gauge, but slightly more kind of bearable to think about. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. There's still a tiny bit of distortion in the stripes, but it's really not too bad. And I tried everything. I picked up more stitches along the cast on, fewer stitches along the cast on at the centre neckline, picking up more stitches along the corner, fewer stitches along the corner, you name it. I promise you, I tried it and it just wasn't having it. So I think it probably is more of a skill issue than anything else. I will try and experiment with different options, because I'm going to make a third sample eventually. But yeah, it's fine. But my issue then was, so where I said before that I should have done the colours the other way around, you can kind of see it here, but where this first stripe cuts into the neckline, it was feeling very heavy at the top. I don't know how else to describe it. I'll put a picture of it here before I did the duplicate stitch, because I ended up going in and doing duplicate stitch over the white stripes that cut into the neckline. So this, and this, and obviously the same on the other side, are done in duplicate stitch. And I think that actually works really nicely. I think it really grounds the collar, and it is something that I will recommend that you do in the pattern. I just think it frames everything quite nicely and looks quite attractive. So yeah, that was a bit of a drama, but it's all good. I think I've worked out all of the kinks. I just need to go through and finish grading it for all of the other sizes. But that's the fun bit, because that's just doing a big puzzle. I really like it, especially for raglans. I find it very satisfying. But I'm quite pleased with my stripe transitions at the beginning of round. The beginning of round is at the left raglan. That's what it looks like. Ooh, can I show you? Yeah, that's what it's looking like there. But I think it looks quite neat. I think I've done quite a good job at jogless stripes. I'm quite pleased. So yeah, I'm hoping to get this finished this week actually. Well, I say this, I'm recording this on Friday, so next week, first week of April, but that'll be fun. It's quite easy now, it's all just, you know, doing the stockinette bit of the body, so it's quite long-winded because it's a small needle size, but yeah, I've got quite a few lessons learned from this project. I'm gonna say think more. I think when you're not used to working and grading at a certain gauge, it can be quite, I don't know, I found like a lot of self-doubt creep in, I guess I would say. And I was a bit like, oh, this should be fine. And it felt a bit like going back to like my very early days of pattern grading. So it was quite humbling, but that's good. That's not a bad thing. I learned a lot. And then I've also found, especially when working at the very, very fine gauges, so kind of with a 2mm, 2.5mm, US 0, US 1.5, I think, the needle matters a lot more. So I'm not fussy about knitting needles normally. I realised yesterday that for me it tends to more be about, I have different preferences at different gauges for like metal or wood. So I'd say anything 5mm US 8 and up, I prefer a wooden needle. Anything below that, I think I prefer a metal needle. And I think that's because I'm quite a tight knitter, and the metal helps me to not work too tightly. So yeah, that's quite interesting. So I have probably spent as much on knitting needles for this project as I have actual yarn, because I bought some Knit Pro Zings initially, because I love my Zings. I love my 4mm ones. Most of my projects knit on a 4mm US 6 needle. I've used Knit Pro Zing. I think I've got like 3 separate 60cm 24-inch cords. And I tend to prefer fixed circulars. I'm not a huge interchangeable needle person because I lose them and I don't like the faff. I find it easier to just use fixed circulars personally. But yeah, I ended up going back and buying some chow goos at Unravel because I was like, this is awful. Like, can I show you? So, I promise you, I did not sit on this needle. I did not let my cat near this needle. This is just from knitting, but I have properly bent it out of shape just from how tightly I hold my needles. So yeah, I have found that getting a very good quality, sharp, sturdy needle has really helped with my forays into 4-ply knitting. So yeah, but I should have this finished by the next podcast, and I'm excited about that because it'll be a big like personal growth moment kind of thing. Also, I haven't decided on a name for this pattern yet. I've struggled with names lately, but that's okay. Hello again, I'm really sorry there might be noise from the bin man outside, sorry. But I did just want to add, because I didn't bring it up in the main podcast, that my plan for this sample is probably to pick up the stitches from the end of the yoke and just re-knit the yoke using the construction and the grading from the second sample. I don't want it to go to waste because the yarn is so gorgeous, and I actually really like this colour on me. I think this is really flattering. But at present it's not, I don't know, it kind of looks fine, but it's worse from the back. Yeah, if you can see how much of my back neck that you can see, it's just not great, and there's, do you see what I mean? It's just too wide at the front chest, and you get this awkward bit of fabric. It's just badly graded. There's no two ways around it. It's just not great, and I could do it better and make more of the yarn. But the fit around the body is lovely. Yeah, so it's salvageable, but yeah, anyway. Okay, and then yeah, in comparison, this is how sample 2 is looking. So you can kind of see what I mean about the potential heaviness. If you imagine that blue and the white was just keeping on across. I hope you can see, I did put like a photo. I've just done my quick edit of what I've filmed before. And I hope you can see what I was kind of getting at. But yeah, I've done about 5 centimetres of the body. Ooh, trying not to let my stitches come off the needle. Much happier overall with how it's sitting. I prefer the sleeve length as well, and actually I think the sizing for the sleeves is really great for me. Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really cute and very useful, which is always what we're going for. So yeah. Okay, sorry if the lighting's just changed. I've just pulled a curtain slightly because, as you can see, it's getting very glary, and I don't know if that bothers people or not, but it bothers me whilst I'm filming because it makes it harder. Next up, so those are all my finished objects. I think because it's all been stuff that takes a bit longer to knit, apart from the slipovers are very quick, but I don't know, the t-shirt has been taken up a lot of headspace. I've now got a couple of works in progress to show you. Well, yeah, literally two. So the first is this. This is the Lucy sweater. I showed the cardigan last month, but it didn't yet have the buttons, and it looks so much better for having its buttons. I hope that this isn't blowing out. I'll have B-roll of me trying it on, but I have been living in this. I love it so, so, so much. It's just been the piece that I didn't know I needed, and I am obsessed with the colour. So again, this is made with Gepard Pura Lana, which is probably my favourite yarn at the moment. Very difficult yarn to substitute for. I think I've kind of alluded to that before with all the Hannah Slipover chat. But it's quite an unusual meterage, so it's 50 grams is 115 meters, so like 130-ish yards thereabouts, and 50% wool, 50% alpaca. But it's quite springy, and it's obviously very drapey because of the alpaca content. But as I said before, it still has quite a lot of body. It's quite unusual. It's so soft. I just love it so much. And actually, I was worried how it was going to wear because it is so soft, and obviously soft yarns pill more. That's just how, you can't have everything. But it hasn't been too bad. I've just picked a couple of pills off, but considering I've probably worn this 20 times since finishing it, which, yeah, it's quite a lot. It's not too bad. I should go over it with a wool comb rather than actually picking it off, but this is quite satisfying. Sorry, anyway. So yeah, I didn't want to use the same yarn again for my second sample because, as I said, I've bought quite a lot of yarn lately, and it's always with a project in mind. it still doesn't change the fact that it is quite a lot of yarn. So I went instead for Drops Lima. Sorry, I've just done another curtain because hopefully that's a bit better. Drops Lima, so this is 65% wool, 30% alpaca, 100 metres, 109 yards. This is the shade 0206, which I think is light beige or light beige mix. I've not used this before. I haven't actually used Drops that much. I'd say when I got into knitting, I was a PhD student and living in Cambridge, which is a really, really expensive place to rent. And I didn't really have any money, so what I was spending on knitting, I was either going to Hobbycraft, because I used to live, there's like a trading estate in Cambridge, and that's where the Hobbycraft is, and I used to live in front of that. It was literally a 2-minute walk to Hobbycraft. It was great. Although I did want to get ID'd in there for... No, my friend got ID'd for scissors, and one of the shop assistants was like, "Are you her mum?" And like, we're the same age. It was so awkward, it's so funny. But yeah, they obviously don't really stock Drops. I don't think they stock Drops at all, actually. And then where I then had more disposable income for yarn, I was buying it from other places, like Sandnes or Knitting for Olive and stuff like that. I don't know. It's not that I'm snobby about it. I promise you that I'm not. I don't care what you knit with. It's not like that. I think some of the... I don't know how to say this delicately. I don't want to insult people, or again sound like I'm being snobby, but I do worry somewhat about the animal welfare of the yarn, just because some of it is so cheap. I don't know. I don't eat meat for ethical reasons, and I hope this is making sense and doesn't sound condescending, because that's not how I mean it at all. But anyway, yeah, I needed yarn for a second sample of the Lucy, and it was probably the best substitute I could find, and it was only £2 a ball on sale at Linda Hobby, I think, or Rito Hobby, one of them. So I went for it, and I have really enjoyed using it. It's not as soft as the Gepard, but I wouldn't expect it to be when it's £5 cheaper per ball. So yeah, you do the maths. Really nice. So it's very smooth, great stitch definition. I think the Andalusian stitch looks beautiful in this yarn. That was a big wheeze. I have found I was kind of freaking out because I really didn't want to block it until later, because I wanted quite a dramatic blocking before and after, because I find them satisfying. But I was a bit like, I don't know if this is the right gauge. Like, my swatch looked fine. I actually swatched with some Suri Silk alpaca from the Camels Yarn, but this was a little bit too chunky. But you know, my swatch seemed fine. It was too chunky. It was that it wasn't nice. It was quite hard on my hands with the second strand. Without it's fine. But yeah, I'll put a picture here of like how much it had shrunk with the tension of the patterns, like the stitched pattern. But yeah, it's been lovely, and the drape is really nice. I'm looking forward to wet blocking it. I've just steam blocked it to check that it fits okay, and it does. And it's quite nice to be able to actually show you the details in the pattern, because where this burgundy is quite dark, you can't really see it as clearly. But it's an all over, well, pretty much all over Andalusian stitch texture knit. It has bits of stockinette stitch kind of framing the textured stitches. So at the neckline, at the underarm, and at the shoulder. And then that continues, yeah, through the underarm and the hem. Little baby split hem, slightly longer at the back than the front, and finished with garter stitch, and then just a regular cast off, which I really like at the moment. I just need to get the sleeves on this. These are going to be part of the same pattern, so it's going to be the Lucy cardigan with a sweater modification. So I'm going to do the same thing, kind of the opposite of what I'm doing for the Hannah, where the button band is the mod. It's going to be the opposite here, so the pattern is going to be for the cardigan, and then I'll have a separate document as part of the download where it tells you basically what you need to do differently to make it a sweater. All it consists of is the order in which you do the shoulders, and then obviously casting on and connecting the left and right front, rather than leaving them separate and then working in the round. But everything else is exactly the same, and the sleeves are exactly the same. Oh, and obviously the collar's different. I did a double folded collar, and again I did a single folded collar for the cardigan. These buttons are from Hobby, and they are a really nice dark rosewood. I did a big button haul recently from Hobby because again, I need more cardigans and I thought it was a good incentive to make them. I've got quite a few things planned in my little head, and yeah, they'll be useful. I used the leftover here, so it's quite nice. I've got like little bits of other projects in this kind of, it's almost like a waistcoat, isn't it? Anyway, Lucy. Yeah, this had a really lovely response on Instagram, which I'm very grateful for because I really like it, so it's nice to know other people do too. I've got a very strong emotional attachment to Andalusian stitch because a lot of my early designs were in it, so it's nice to revisit it with the added skill that I have now. And I'm really pleased with how this is looking. I'm going to try it again and get the sleeves done on this quite soon. I need a bit of inhaler, I'm having trouble breathing. That's better, it ain't easy being wheezy. Chop down there. So yeah, I'm pleased with how this has worked up. This is going to be out in October. Test knit call coming soon. I still need to do the Juno tester call, the tester call for this, and for that Gepard summer top I've shown you, and the t-shirt. So quite a lot to do, but that's okay, keeps me busy. Again, this is my goal for April. So yeah, those are the Lucy's, not a lot else to say. I've shifted away from my usual preference for a light grey neutral towards a beige because I prefer how these look together compared to grey. Like, I don't know, I like the beige against it. And that is going to inform a lot of the yarn I'm about to show you. I like beige, it's not my favourite, I think because I've got quite beige colouring. I'm quite low contrast, I talk about this quite a lot, so apologies, it sounds really vain. But I've got green eyes with a bit of yellow, blonde hair, and then I've got quite yellowy, olivey undertones. Getting foundation is a nightmare. So I find that beige can kind of be a bit much on my colouring, but for the sake of easier product photography, I don't care. I think that's why a lot of designers use beige and kind of sad beige. It's just because it's easy to photograph and you can see the details in the design. It goes with other products that you might want to show. There's a reason. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to having this done. I think it's going to get a lot of wear, and so far so good with the yarn. Really enjoying it. Okay, the last bit of knitting that I've got to show you. Well, it's not really a bit of knitting. Oh no, I've got one more very small work in progress that won't take too long to talk about. And it is this, as I say, very small, very early days. And that's what it's looking like. Very nice. So this is a loose blouse. I got a very nice email from somebody when the loose sweater came out in February asking if it was available as a drop shoulder at all, and the answer was no. It's a raglan. It doesn't immediately translate because the overall fit changes quite a lot when you make something a drop shoulder. But yeah, the overall construction is just so different. It's not really a one-for-one. It's not something that you can immediately transfer across, but it did inspire me to cast on a drop shoulder version. So this is actually going to be for next March. And I'm using Isia Silk Mohair, held double. This is the shade 62, and it's a lovely peachy pink. Again, I'm not sure it's my best colour, but I don't really care because it's very beautiful. I bought it actually to hold with. Yeah, I did a big order to the Oxford Yarn store because I'm thinking of my autumn designs, autumn-winter designs, and I'm going to make a Lisa sweater. So I've got the Lisa top, again, picture here, in testing currently, and I want to do a sweater version. And I'm going to use Isia Twinny. This is the shade 61S, and it's a lovely cool toned pink that I think is over-dyed on some grey wool because it has lovely kind of grey flecks. And yeah, I was going to use this with it, but as you can see, the undertone is very different. Didn't really like it. In the same order, I got some Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the shade Rose Clay, and these are a much better match. So yeah, I had this left over. I bought this to go with some Alpaca 3 in the shade Sky, but I don't know, I think I'm tempted to use this by itself. This is another alpaca wool blend, chainette style yarn in this really cool multicolour purple. Very lovely yarn. So yeah, I need to have a rethink about that, but I don't really want to buy any more yarn because I've bought so much lately and it feels really like, ooh, consumption, I don't like it. I told you it's been a weird mental health month. Anyway, so yeah, I've kind of got this loose in stash, not assigned to any project, and I think I've got enough to make a t-shirt. So I think that would be really lovely for next year. I will also have instructions for how to make it like a sweater, long sleeve sweater, and I'll probably make another sample with different yarn, so it's not all mohair if that's not your preference. I still am planning to cast on a loose cardigan as well, but that'll come. Again, maybe that's something that I'll cast on this month. I think that would be quite nice. I've got buttons ready to go apparently, so yeah. Very small whip, haven't made a lot of progress on this. I think I cast this on right at the end of February and I haven't knitted on it since because I've had other stuff that is more pressing, but hopefully I will have a bit of progress to show you next time. Okay, so sticking with yarn purchases, I also bought recently some of this mohair. So this is the Yarn Smith's Kid Silk mohair, and I saw my tech editor at Unravel back in February, and she was like, what do you think about it? Are you going to buy some for review? Because obviously I'm quite well known for being like a massive mohair nerd and having a repository of information and reviews on mohair yarns. So I do consider myself to be something of a mohair expert, which is so lame. But yeah, curiosity got the better of me and I ordered some. I got it in this lovely chocolate brown shade. I think it is called chocolate, but it's 3080. And it looks like this. It's very fluffy. Take the label off. Lovely colour, like a proper dark chocolate espresso bean, coffee bean colour. I would say it's not the softest. It's very fluffy. So if you want a good bit of fluff, there you go. Hopefully you can see that. Want a good bit of fluff, I think it's a good option, and I think whilst it's still on its introductory offer at about £4.50, £5, great, get some, it's good. I don't know if I would rush to buy it again at full price, just because I think they're selling it for £8. I think I will double check this and I'll put it, again, I've got my laptop right here, why don't I just check it? I can tell you it's 26%, whilst this is loading, it's 26% silk, 74% kid mohair. So yeah, it's chocolate brown is the shade name, and then it will be £7.60. So I think Filcolana Tilia, which is one of my preferred mohairs because it's 30% silk, 70% mohair, and I just really like it. It's currently retailing for £8 at Knit and £6.95 at Maple Tree Yarns, which is a really lovely shop down in Wales. So for that kind of price difference, personally, I would go with Filcolana Tilia. I think it's softer and finer. I have swatched this yarn. So I've held this with yarn from the Raw Wool Company that I bought at Unravel Autumn last time around. If I can find it. So yeah, that's what that looks like. It is 100% British Wensleydale long wool. Is there any information on the shade? On a dark and stormy night, and it is a really beautiful, very glossy, quite hairy, as a long wool should be. 4-ply, 350 metres per 100 grams, 382 yards. Really nice wool. I'm a bit 4-plied out, so that's why I've gone for a second strand. I wouldn't normally with a British wool that's this nice, so I do feel a bit bad about it. But I will get more use out of this yarn with the second strand, so that's my thinking. And it's not the softest. I think this is not the softest. This is woolly. I've got a very high wool tolerance, so this will be fine for me. But I'm planning on making a cardigan again with this. Again, I need more cardigans. And that's what the swatch looks like. So yeah, that is my initial kind of first impressions of the Yarn Smith's mohair. I know there's been quite a lot of clamour to talk about it a little bit. I know that's being a bit dramatic. I've had people ask me what I think about it, and that's my first impression. It's fine. I probably would buy it again for if there was the right colour, or if it stays at £4.95 a ball, because that is very competitive pricing, and the range of colours is excellent, really, really nice. I'd say if you want a very fluffy mohair that doesn't have a lot of sheen, although this has got some sheen, like you can see it there, which for a dark colour especially is impressive, so they've done a good job dyeing it. It almost feels more like a Suri alpaca than a mohair. I think if I were given this in a blind test, I would assume there was some alpaca content. like compared to the Isia or the Knitting for Olive, which is super soft. This definitely feels somewhat coarser, but that's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, different yarns have different qualities, and that's what makes them so wonderful. That's so cheesy, I'm so sorry, oh my goodness. And then finally, I've bought more yarn, again, to make a second and third sample of this design. I still haven't chosen a name, I'm so sorry. It's really hard, I'm going to need to put it into like a random name generator. But yeah, this is a colourwork yoke sweater that I've spoken about quite a lot. If you want the full kind of breakdown, I recommend watching my last episode. But I need to resample knit this because I need to go up a size for the colourwork. I need to go up to a 4.5 US 7 so I can keep the body at a 4mm needle US 6 because it's not too bad, but it does puff out a bit. And there's a couple of things with the grading that I'm not super happy with. I think I made the sleeves a bit too big. I want to take a bit of ease out of the sleeves, and a couple of other small tweaks. I'm happy with how it fits on the body. I would like to experiment a bit with the neckline some more. I'm not super thrilled. I've worn this maybe 5 times, no, fewer than that, maybe 4 times I think since finishing it. It's wearing well. Sanders Garn Pigin, switched. Really lovely. I love how the yoke looks. I think the yoke looks really cool. But yeah, I've got yarn for a second and third sample, as I say. So I've stuck with Sanders Garn Pigin because it's one of my favourite yarns. It's really great price. I think it's like about £4.50 a ball in the UK at the moment. So a full sweater quantity was still like pretty reasonable. I think it's about in the £50 mark for my size. Obviously, like, I'm buying as a business, so it's a bit different, but yeah. I've got yarn for a 3 colour version and a 4 colour version. For the 3 colour version, the plan is basically to have the yarn that you start with be the same as the yarn that you end with. So I just need to redo the chart so you still get the same key look. Almost looks like marble, like a piece of like cut marble or like a magic eye puzzle to me. But yeah, for the 3 colour version, I've gone with these 3 colours. As you can see, I'm getting out of my blue phase. I'm getting into some burgundies and some pinks, which I haven't been into for ages. It's quite fun. All of the shade names will be down below, but quickly, I know this is Rumba Red and it's 4255. Can't remember what this colour is, but it's 4363. And then this is Marzipan, which is 2321. And I think these are really nice together. So the plan is to have this at the collar, then fade into this colour, then fade into this colour, and then fade out into that. I bought all of these from No Frills Knitting, and shout out to Meg for helping me choose the colours. You are a saint. And then for the 4 colour version, I need to decide the order a little bit, but I've got these. So this is the shade Spiced Apple, 3854, very pretty muted red. I think this would work nicely as well, but I want the more vivid colours in the 3 colour version. And then the next colour is Cocoa Nibs from the Petite Knit shade card, which is 3091, and it's a lovely deep chocolate brown, as the name would suggest. Almond, also from the Petite Knit shade card, this is 2511. So the difference between Marzipan, Almond, very similar, slightly more light in colour, Almond, and slightly more yellow toned, whereas Marzipan is a little bit more cool toned. Showing you Spiced Apple, and then this is Dark Olive. I actually really love this colour. It's kind of, I know Matcha, that Petite Knit colour has been really popular lately, but this is like a slightly more deep, as the name would suggest, olivey colour, and it is 9873. So that's what they look like together. I'm really pleased with this colour combination. I think it's going to be lovely. I'm thinking colour 2, colour 3, colour 4. This is the body colour. Maybe the other way around. Maybe it's that. I don't know. I'll have a play. That's what the chart is for, to figure that out. And I think that just about wraps things up. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this has been interesting. If you see me talking about buying more yarn in future episodes, tell me off. Please, please, please tell me off. Because, oh my goodness, I have got enough to keep me going until next spring. Like literally, I've got like my design schedule written up on the wall opposite me, and I'm literally set now until next March. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I've obviously got some other works in progress, but I just haven't spoken about those because I haven't got any updates for you on them. Hopefully I will in April, even if it's just I finished the body of a couple of sweaters that I've got going. But yeah, I hope that you are keeping well wherever you are in the world, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.